Hi, everybody. It's James Clary, the restaurant guru, bringing you another segment in the Restaurant Secrets to Success series. Are you ready? Me too. Let's do it. Hi, everybody. It's James Clary. It's the Restaurant Guru podcast. Welcome. And I am so excited to introduce you to a new friend of mine, Nick Sarillo. Nick is the founder and CEO of Nick's Pizza and Pub and Nick's University. He founded the restaurant in 1995, and he is one of the top 10 busiest independent pizza companies in per store sales in the United States. Nick credits his company's success to his purpose-driven culture, which is the focus of his book, A Slice of the Pie, How to Build a Big Little Business, which I am currently reading, and I encourage everybody to get it. It's on Amazon. I have it in Kindle form. And Nick, I so appreciate you doing the Restaurant Guru podcast. How are you, my friend?
Very good. Yeah. Thank you, James. Appreciate the nice introduction there. That's cool. And again, thank you for reading the book. I definitely wrote the book as a practitioner. I'm a restaurant guy myself and a business operator, and I really wanted to have my book support other small business owners to build great companies, and have a positive work environment. So that's why please let me know if you have questions along the way as you read the book.
Absolutely. As a small business owner, restaurant owner myself, I haven't really told you my whole story, Nick, but I sold my namesake restaurant in 06 and went back to the corporate world, but I can so identify with everything in your book. Let's dig down a little bit. If you could tell me a little bit about your story. I know you were in the construction business, but your father owned a pizza restaurant as you're growing up. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep. My dad had a couple places, a little place in Chicago in what's called the Pilsen neighborhood. So in the heart of the city. And I learned a lot from my dad, growing up in the business. I started actually probably when I was 10 years old and learning, all the way through, and I had no choice, but I had to work summers. And so I worked in those restaurants all the way up and through high school. By the time I graduated high school is about when I told my dad I've had enough of the restaurant business. And I actually said I'm never going to get in the restaurant business again. So much for saying never.
Yeah, we know it kind of gets in your blood, doesn't it?
It sure does. Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get back in the biz? I know you worked in construction and you had an injury, and tell me what happened after.
Yeah, really what drove me to get back in the business was having 3 kids of my own that were all little at the time, taking them out to eat and having some bad experiences. And then I was like, man, this is not good. It's like you take, for me, the bad experience was that the kids, families and kids weren't getting taken care of like adults were. They were typically, if you go to, unless you go to a Chuck E. Cheese and then it's flipped, right? Then it's all about the kids and the parents have to deal with bad food, or a kid environment, or you go to a good quality food place, but then the servers are put out because they have to deal with kids. So I wanted to do something that was great food and great experience for the kids as well. And the kids got treated like first-class citizens, just the way the adults did.
And I think that, tell me if I'm wrong, but it kind of comes from being a dad, doesn't it? I mean, it's this what you're telling me comes from your heart, not your head, right?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. That's exactly what motivated me. It was really my heart and the search for a community experience, family experience.
Yeah, I can so relate to that, and I think those of us that are in the business that really do it for the right reasons, it is from the heart. As I always train my waiters, the service is from the heart. You just have to be one of those people that want to please. So you opened Nick's in what year was that? You opened your first place?
1995 was the first one, and 2005 was the second one.
Gotcha. And then I want to get into the real meat of your book pretty quickly. So, tell us about the collapse in 2007, 2008, and what happened in your business?
Well, we definitely had really, for my restaurants are out in the suburbs of Chicago. So in the suburbs there, those families, very blue collar, they depended a lot on the construction, the home construction industry.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, a lot of plumbers, electricians, carpenters. So when the economy fell off, unemployment went really sky high in those areas, and that really hurt us. We were getting by, because we were still affordable and we
Yeah.
were doing some good things. So we were kind of squeaking by and making it. But when what really made it more challenging was I actually thought it was going to help. And they were going to open a big super Walmart across the street from the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And that in 2011. And that is kind of what made things difficult was the not actually opening it, but the construction and the road construction and all that stuff tore it up. So that's was the hardest part of the recession for us was at 2011.
And speak to that a little bit. I mean, you say it was the hardest part. I mean, I know you're a person who is apt to share his failures as much as successes. How hard was it?
Yeah, I think it was really hard. The important thing was, I learned a lot about culture through that experience, and learned a lot about how important being explicit about the culture we want to have in our company is to helping us get through tough times. Of course, it helps with good times. That's a slam dunk. But
Yeah.
it really, really became important when we went through that time because that road construction project, they actually tore out our entrance. They said it was too close to the intersection for the parking lot. So our entrance into the parking lot for the restaurant in the Elgin location had to be moved down the street 800 feet. So that really hurt. We dropped, our sales dropped like 50% during that summer, which is, our busiest time for 4 months there. And that almost put us out of business.
That's a
It would
killer.
have put us out of business if it wasn't for the community
Yeah.
and my team to actually help us get through that.
And you, in your book, Nick, you talk about an email that was very difficult for you to write and to send. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's the hard part is when you go through something like that where something outside your control hurts the business, and it was I don't it's not everything is outside of control. We did our part. We did as much as we could to get through those tough times, and then we got to a point where we just couldn't do anymore. And so I had a cash flow projection model where I could see I was going to run out of cash in about 4 weeks. And I didn't, I couldn't be the type, for me, it's just not my values to just lock the doors on people. I couldn't just, not tell anybody and then lock the doors on our team and our community who had been supporting us for many, many years.
Yeah.
So when it was late in September, the end of September, when I realized that I might not make it, I could see that I only had about 4 weeks left of cash for payroll and for our mortgage. I just decided with a heavy heart, I decided to write a letter to our guests and our team to let them know that we're going to go out of business in about 4 weeks. And I sent that, and we had about 16,000 people in our email database. So what I decided to do was share that email with my team before I sent it out, and they looked at it because I wasn't sure if it was a good thing to do. I actually thought it was a risky thing to do, but I wanted to let them know. And my team was in support of us being open and honest about our communication because that's our values. So I, decided I was going to send that letter out in an email format to our frequent diner database. And then I also checked with a PR company, and they highly suggested that we don't do that.
Yeah. Of course.
Right. They, the woman I called actually said, from her perspective, it made sense. She said, you're being so honest about this letter, Because in the letter I just shared that I wanted everybody to know that it wasn't my managers or it wasn't my team's fault that we're going to go out of business. It was my fault that that I was the one who had too big of a mortgage now for the amount of business we had.
Wow.
And I was the one who picked this location and built this building. So I just wanted people to know that, just be honest about that, and that my team had actually done everything they could do. And I wanted, and at the end of it too, I did say, I don't know, maybe it could help us either come in and say goodbye or help us get through this. Either way, I was just being honest with our guests. The team said we should do this, and the PR folks said we shouldn't, and we went back and forth a little bit, and then at the end of the day, I went back to my team, and my team said, even though the experts say we shouldn't do this, we think we should. So I believed in my team and our values. We used our values to make that decision. And I went ahead and sent that email out I didn't post it on Facebook right away. I just sent it to our 16,000 people in our database. And when I did that, the thing went viral and went on Facebook anyhow. Our guests posted it on Facebook, and
Yeah.
it went crazy. It went viral, and it was amazing what happened. Unbelievable what happened.
What happened? Tell us the results of this.
Yeah, well, we had probably like 400, 500, 600 shares on Facebook. It went crazy. This was in 2011, so this was before crowdfunding, really. So, and that's the funny part. We also, the phone started ringing, people started coming in. It was pretty amazing. We had guests, we had team members calling and saying, you know what, even though they don't work there anymore, they wanted to come work for free and help us out over the weekends. We had guests calling and bringing in parties. It was amazing. Our sales increased 110% in the restaurant for like 4 or 5 weeks. I had a vendor, one of our local produce guy delivered a week's worth of produce for us on the house. Unbelievable. We had 2-hour waits. The community came out in a huge way. It was incredible. And, the thing is I would have never expected that. And what I heard from my team, I think part of it is why we had such a big result is because we had open books. I had been showing, we do fiscal huddles every week. So the team knew what was going on. They saw the weeks that we weren't profitable. They knew, they kind of knew. They didn't know it was as bad as it was, but they knew, we were struggling. And so they trusted, what I was saying and what we were doing. And then the guests also, because we do so many fundraisers with the community and, we're open. I think that we had built up a lot of trust with our guests, with our community over the last 10 years. So when I did something like this, it was authentic and they felt it was authentic. And the big thing to me, what I realized with these guests that were coming in and servers in tears, bartenders in tears about the team that worked at Nick's had authentically connected with our guests, not because I told them to, but because of our purpose and what we're about. And that's where the emotion was for the guests and the team members and why they had turned out. I realized that what was happening and what we had created at Nick's was much bigger than me. It was really our team. So that's because of that turnout and that turned that, the cash flow and, that actually turned everything around for us. The bank helped us restructure our debt, for that restaurant and helped us get through it. But it never would have happened I didn't never expected it to happen. I actually truly expected to go out of business.
And I think
thought that was it.
Yeah. That's the key though to it, I think. It's the fact you were brutally honest. You weren't trying to save the restaurant. You made a decision that I think a lot of people would say is counterintuitive. Like your PR firm said, don't do it. And I get that. And most restaurants that close shut the door in the middle of the night and you never hear a word about it. And I've always wanted, I love this story, Nick, because I hear restaurants that do that and people are really upset. Their customers are like, gosh, why did he just close? I would have liked to have gone one last time.
The other part that I think is really, really important though, because I did have a couple people like over the last, over a couple of years afterwards, ask me, oh, I'm gonna send a letter. I'm having a tough time. I'm gonna send a letter to our guests, and it didn't work the same for them.
Yeah.
you know,
Right.
it's
Right.
part of it is you have to be authentically connected with your community. And
Yes.
we did a lot of fundraisers. We gave back to the community for many years. So that was real. And my team, we were running open books. So the team for many years before, while things were great, we had open books. Not just when things were bad, we had open books. That stuff's got to be in there first. You
Gotcha.
can't just you can't just treat your people bad and then just try and do something like that because it's not going to work.
Well, and I think that's a perfect segue to get into some of what are the meat I want to get into and how you run your business. And you talk a lot about culture. Can you just speak to culture for a couple minutes?
Yeah, for sure. It's we all have many great restaurants out of there all around and we many restaurants with great food and great service. And what I learned is that the one thing that really is going to differentiate us is not just nowadays I think it's just so competitive. We have to have great food for sure, and we have to have great service, but we also need to take care of our people and have a great culture. And by culture, I mean the behaviors that happen within our team. At any given moment, what the behaviors that are being exhibited, whether they're good behaviors, bad behaviors, where there's a lot of drama and negativity, or it's high performance. Those behaviors are the culture of our organizations, whether it's restaurants, a factory, a city, a state, a country, right? It's the
Yeah.
behaviors that creates the culture. And we have a choice. We could just let culture happen, which is most, common is we just hold the culture in, as the owner of the business, we hold it in our gut and we expect the culture to kind of be implicit. And what I learned was we can make the culture explicit and really create the culture we want instead of just letting it happen.
Yeah, and I love that. It's something I think that you've just expressed that I've always kind of had in my heart and my head, but I've never heard it expressed as well as you did. And you had some help along the way, didn't you, from a guy named Rudy Miick.
Yes.
Tell
Yep.
me about
Yeah.
Rudy and how you connected with him and
Well,
what he
that
did
that
for you.
right. I think like many restaurant owners and small business, I opened my restaurant, by myself with a great amount of passion. Worked my butt off, 20-hour days, no money, did as much as I could myself, all that, which is pretty typical.
Mm-hmm.
And grew my restaurant, put an addition on, a few years into it, to the point I was operating like that, which is pretty typical. The culture was my passion. When
Yeah.
I was there, the culture was me. And about 7 years into it, I realized that I wanted to expand and open more restaurants. And that's where I wanted to find a consultant that wasn't just about making money, because to me, making money was not, was the easier part.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a consultant that would help me, that was in alignment with my values around taking care of my team. And that's when I found Rudy Miick. And he introduced us to taking the passion from in my gut and expressing that and getting it out to a collective purpose and a collective purpose for our company.
Got it. You talk about how most companies manage through command and control
Right, right.
versus
We
talk about what you came up with instead of command and control. I love
Yeah, well
this.
then, if we're going to have a culture that is intentional around a purpose and values, then we have to really pay attention to leadership behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And we need leaders that are going to support being coaches versus cops.
Yeah.
And and that's where through that practice, Again, with Rudy's help, we came up with really what we defined as trust and track leadership
Yeah.
instead of the old command and control leadership. So trust and track really is about being a coach, coming from a place of first that I believe in our people, right? I'm going to trust that people want to do a good job first. I'm going to start there. And then I'm going to track their performance and give them feedback. I'm not going to just trust and hope. I'm going to trust and track their performance and celebrate when I see the positive behaviors first. And if I need to, I'm going to coach the behaviors when needed as well. So that's the difference.
Oh, I just wrote that down. Coaches versus cops. Man, it's so important. And that was really a process, though, that Rudy kind of walked you through, right? Defining your values and defining your purpose and then defining your values. I mean, that wasn't just a simple sit down and write it out deal, was it?
What I think is really important that is just what you just said, James. And I love that you're paying attention to it because it wasn't the marketing department coming up with values, which I see way too often. Rudy is probably the best in the country at because he doesn't have a cookie cutter program. What he does, where is magical about, is he takes we take a slice team of the company, top performers of the company, and together from our individual passions, together we create our purpose, why our company exists. And then after that process is complete, then together we create our values, how we do what we do. And neither one of them have anything to do with what we do. The what is actually the easy part. The purpose and the values is the differentiator.
Absolutely. And if you don't mind, I'm going to just read your purpose real quick. It says
Sure.
the Knicks, our purpose, the Knicks experience. Our dedicated family provides this community an unforgettable place to connect with your family and friends, to have fun, and to feel at home. This is an emotional thing, isn't it? Like I said at the beginning, it's really comes from the heart. And you even use the term soul, that you were searching for the soul of your company and that this was almost something spiritual. I found that very profound. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah, you're right because it is. It's not spiritual from a woo-woo place, but
Right.
it's a holistic model. It's a holistic business model, and because it's just not an intellectual exercise. Like I said, that's where the marketing department kind of one word noun kind of values
Yeah.
are not as effective. People could do well with that, for sure. Uh, and there's an opportunity to go deeper and make it a holistic product because you think about organizations are organs, right? They're
Yeah.
live, breathing, so that's why we need to put our whole selves into this work if we really want it to be sustainable. If we want to be around for many, many years, that's where it's going to be effective, most effective. And the way we do it, I mean, if you notice, ours are all in the present tense because now they become action standards, and we could actually celebrate behaviors too, or course correct behaviors too. And that's why, because we have values in the present tense like that in a collective I statement, we don't need rules. We don't need big, thick policy manuals.
Wow.
We behave, we just put behaviors and issues and problems, we just turn them right back to our purpose and our values. And we do that together, whether it's the guy washing the dishes or me, we hold each other accountable to it.
This just really, I mean, Nick, I just love this. It blows me away. It's such a different way of thinking about business because, we've all grown up and your dad ran the business a different way. I mean, he probably would have told you were crazy if you'd said, yeah, Dad, we're going to define our values and purpose and da, 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 right? I mean, how
He'll
would
tell
he have felt about it?
He did tell me I was crazy. Yeah, he still tells me I'm crazy. Very, very old school Italian. So usually when he tells me he's crazy, he's usually dropping an F-bomb in the middle of that.
Yeah, yeah, I know, I know. I've worked with guys like him. I love it. I love it, man. But this what's so exciting about this is, and I think you said it, you said it's the competitive advantage. This is how companies and particularly restaurants can get ahead, right?
And in addition to that, I believe it's the leadership model of the 21st century.
Mm-hmm.
Really, because we're not in the industrial age anymore. Command and control isn't going to work with today's generation. From my experience with 200 team members, probably 70% of them under the age of 25. Uh, this is a more effective way to run our organizations. I don't care what business you're in, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, do you think that we had a discussion with a mutual friend of ours, Eric Cacciatore, today, and a couple other guys, and we were talking about the millennials and the younger generation. I think it doesn't matter what the generation is, but can you speak to that a little bit? Are the millennials different? I mean, do you have to treat them different?
From my experience, yeah, I mean, each generation is going to be a little different, and I work with a lot of, like I said, millennials, Generation Y and Z,
Yeah.
and what I found to be different, it's not that they don't have a good work ethic or they're entitled. I hear that a lot. I think that's bullshit, really.
Yep.
I think what's different mostly is they want to work for something. Most of them want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. They want to have a positive impact on society. So that's why purpose is important,
Mm-hmm.
and tying their job, their work back to purpose or back to something big. And the other element that's really important is leadership behavior. The days when I was a kid, my boss told me what to do. I just did it.
Yep.
And he didn't have to walk the talk. I believe now more than ever, leaders must model the behavior they're asking of today's workforce.
Yeah.
If a 16, 17, or 20-year-old sees me doing something different than I'm asking of them, that's where they're going to undercut our culture and not be productive.
They're going to call BS, right?
Yeah, and lose all their respect. Yep.
Yeah. They'll call you out on it, which I think when I grew up, I was too scared to call an adult out on it. So I just did what I was told,
Right. We just did what we were told.
Right.
So
Well,
that's the opportunity. Actually, it's a great opportunity, I think.
it's amazing. I got just a few more things. I know you're kind of tight on time, but you talked a lot about community involvement. And I just got back from the NRA, and I've been the last 3 years. Man, there's so much talk about sustainability. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, well, sustainability from our environment you're talking
Yeah,
about. Right?
well, environment and I think you talk about it both the environment and people. But let's take the environment first. Like you use reclaimed barnwood, I believe, for your restaurants and construction.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I go back to a holistic model.
Yep.
There's the external part of our business. There's the external part of our restaurant, right? There's the external, of ourselves, right? So,
Yep.
so definitely, I use rescued barnwood. We do, we're not perfect. We do as much as we can to sustain Earth, right?
Sure.
And be responsible for how we leave this Earth after we're gone. And, I believe that's just the right thing to do. It's our values.
Yeah.
I think the other opportunity, though, that people just are not so aware of is the opportunity to think about how do we, what I call it is human sustainability, right? So every team member that comes to work at Nick's, what could I do? How could I teach them things so that when they leave us at Nick's, if they go on to another career or however long they stay with us, we're going to help them be a more fulfilled human being. So we're going to give them life skills to help them with their life while they're working at Nick's. To me, that's the human sustainability. Again, looking at our business, not just externally, but also from the inside out. Taking care of the company from the inside out, from the individual human beings all the way out to the materials we use in our buildings.
Yeah, and it's all in your values, and you even talk about the health and emotional and physical well-being of your staff. And I just think all these things combined has just created a culture where you're successful, but you've kind of got to just feel good about what you do every day, don't you, Nick?
Yeah, for sure. If not, it's time to do something else.
Right.
I mean,
Exactly.
I share that with every one of our team members. At any time, if there's a performance miss or something, a lot of times it's like, are you sure this is what you want to do? If this is, it's okay. If you're not excited to come to Nick's, that's okay. I'm not going to judge you for it. And I want to
Exactly.
help you get a job somewhere else, or if you want to go to another restaurant, or if you want to be a school teacher, whatever it is, how could I support you to live the life you want to live? And if Nick's is a part of it, that's great. If not, that's okay too.
I think a lot of owners don't realize, owners, managers, that, when we are working with these young or older people, but we really are putting our imprint that is a lasting imprint forever. I recently got an email from a waiter from 20 years ago who's a VP for Pfizer and told me the time spent at my restaurant was the most valuable work experience he had. And it just, it kind of teared up a little bit, and that kind of stuff's amazing,
Yep, that's the opportunity we have. I think that's great. What a great story that you're still getting that kind of response. So there you go. I mean, look at the impact you've had on people's lives, and 80% of our life, each of us, or 80, I think it's 80%, something like that of our awake time in our life is working. So why not make it the best for all of us, and take care of our people as you have.
Yeah, and you, and my hat's off to you. And I want to really encourage my listeners to buy your book. I mean, I don't care how many self-help business books you've read, whether you're in the restaurant business or any business. I think your book is just a great read. Nick, where can people find out more about you? Do you have a website? Where can they go?
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to go to nickspizzapub.com, and we have links, or just go to nicksuniversity.com. Either way, you can see, our training courses around hiring and culture and leadership we have at Nick's University, or just take a fun go on our pizza website and go to the map section and do a little Google walk through the restaurant. That's fun too. Either way, though, I really appreciate, like you said, the reason I wrote my book is to help people not have to take as long the learning curve that I took. I like to help other business owners get there quicker. So
that's awesome. Well, Nick, I so appreciate you spending the time on the Restaurant Guru podcast, my friend. And I'll take you up on that if I have any questions I'm going to be up all night reading your book. I guarantee you.
Yeah, thank you, James. And I'm really grateful for you and honored you gave me this opportunity to share what I've learned and the mistakes I've made with all of your listeners, the people you have in your community. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. And I promise next time I'm in Chi-Town, I will be at your place. And I hope we can do this again, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. I hope so too.
All right. Thank you. So there you have it, kids. That's my interview with Nick Sarillo of Nick's Pizza and Pub in Crystal Lake, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. And I believe he's got one in Elgin as well. If you are in the Chicago area, make sure and visit Nick's place. It is an incredible experience from everything I've heard. And you heard the man himself talk about his trials and tribulations in the restaurant business and how he created a culture that encouraged wellness and the well-being of both his customers and his staff. And I think it's an incredible story. Please share this with others that you might find value of it. I found it incredibly valuable. I hope you did too. This is James Clary. It's the Restaurant Guru podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening. Visit me at therestaurantguru.net for more information on how you can become successful in the most difficult business in the world, the restaurant business.